In the spring of 1912, a German novelist visited his wife at a Swiss sanatorium. She was being treated for tuberculosis. He planned to stay for 3 weeks. A doctor examined him during his visit. "I found a moist spot on your lung," the doctor said. "You should consider remaining here for treatment, perhaps 3 months." Thomas Mann refused. He returned to Munich. He began writing. 12 years later, he published a novel about a young man who visits his cousin at a Swiss sanatorium. The young man plans to stay for 3 weeks. He remains for 7 years. Here is the strangest part of this story. When doctors later re-examined his wife's original x-rays, they found no evidence of tuberculosis. She had never had the disease at all. The greatest tuberculosis novel ever written. A book that would win its author the Nobel Prize, that would define an entire era, that would be called one of the most important works in the history of literature, was born from a misdiagnosis. From an illness that wasn't real. From a cure that didn't work. From 3 weeks that became 12 years. And here is something stranger still. The novel would predict with uncanny precision the catastrophe that was about to engulf Europe. It would diagnose a civilization's sickness before the symptoms became visible to anyone else. It would see the war coming, the World Festival of Death, and describe it in terms that would haunt readers for the next century. This is the story of the Magic Mountain, of Thomas Mann and his enchanted mountain, of a young engineer named Hans Castorp, who went to visit a sanatorium and never came home. Welcome to the Sanatorium. Tonight we're exploring one of literature's greatest novels, a book about time and death and disease, about love and philosophy and the collapse of European civilization. A book that was intended as a short comedic novella and became a 1,200-page epic. A book written in the shadow of one world war and published in the ruins of another. If you've journeyed with us before to Davos, to that alpine town that tuberculosis built, then you already know the world we're entering tonight. The same cure terraces, the same mountain air, the same patients wrapped in blankets, breathing deeply, watching the snow fall on the peaks above. But tonight, we're not just visiting the sanatoriums. We're entering the mind of the man who immortalized them. We're following Thomas Mann from the merchant houses of Lübeck to the balconies of Davos, from the outbreak of the First World War to the Nobel Prize ceremony in Stockholm. We'll walk the corridors of the Berghof Sanatorium where Hans Castorp spent 7 enchanted years. We'll listen to the great debates between reason and passion, between life and death. We'll stand with hands in the snow, lost in a blizzard, dreaming of paradise and horror. And we'll follow Thomas Mann himself through the darkest chapters of the 20th century, through exile and loss, through the rise of fascism and the destruction of everything he loved, through the long years of speaking across an ocean to a homeland that no longer wanted him. It is a long journey, but the night is long, and the Helen Burns. If you've read Jane Eyre, you remember her, the saintly girl who dies of consumption in the heroine's arms. What Charlotte Bronte never told her readers was that Helen Burns was real. She was Charlotte's own sister. And she was only the first. By the time tuberculosis finished with the Bronte family, it would take 5 of the 6 children, while their father watched helpless for 40 years. Welcome to the Sanatorium. I'm your host, and this is where we explore the stories of tuberculosis, the white plague that shaped our history, our culture, and our very understanding of what it means to be human. If you're new here, consider subscribing. We release new episodes regularly, and there are many more stories to tell. Tonight's episode is a long one, over 2 hours. So settle in. Find a comfortable position. Pour yourself some tea, perhaps. We're going to spend the evening with one of the most extraordinary families in literary history, and with the disease that consumed them, one by one, until only silence remained. The house stands at the top of the village. A Georgian parsonage, grey stone, modest but solid. Behind it the moors stretch endlessly, purple with heather in summer, brown and wind-scoured in winter. In the rooms downstairs the air is cold, even with the fire going. It's always cold. The year is 1848. September turning to October. In the dining room, three women